Aloha! Today we are going to talk about acupressure for fatigue. So I have talked a lot about acupressure. Hopefully you have watched the introduction to acupressure video so that you are familiar with the basic techniques. And maybe you've watched the advanced acupressure video, which talks more about using specific tools. Either way, you can follow this video. And if you haven't watched at least the introductory acupressure video, let me know and I will send you the link if you can't find it. But you can always just do some gentle pressure on any points that we talk about, or gentle tapping, or whatever you feel called to do. If there is anything you need to know about a specific point, any cautions or contraindications or anything like that, I will let you know as we go. So it's a pretty safe process. You should be able to get started right away. Just try to watch the introductory video as soon as you can. All right, all that being said, we are going to use acupoints all over the body, which support our nervous system health, circulatory health, fascial health, really just support the entire function and structure of our body. And we can do this, as hopefully you know by now, through the myofascial meridian system, through the pathways of fascia, nerves, blood vessels, and muscles, and lymphatic system that move through our body in very specific ways. So we use the 12 main meridians as well as the extra meridians to access our inner workings, to access our inner queendom from the outside. So it's a really powerful process. And this video, we're going to focus on fatigue because I know that's been coming up for a lot of people. And it's something that presents itself with many different conditions. So if we're struggling with liver health, if we're struggling with kidney health, if we're struggling with, insomnia, mentally, it can affect our fatigue. There's all of these different things. So this is just a general acupressure for fatigue video, and I will get into more specific patterns as we go. So if you are enrolled in a specific course, you can look, course or program, you can look in your information for more specific acupressure for fatigue videos and instruction for specific patterns. And if you are in a custom program and I have not provided you with your pattern yet, just let me know and we'll get that to you. All right, so for acupressure for fatigue, we work with 3 of our yin meridians on our legs. They're called the 3-leg yin, right? They're our feminine meridians on our legs. And so these start, the kidney starts at the sole of the foot here. The spleen starts on the outside of the big toe, and the liver starts on the inside of the big toe. And so the reason working with these points is great for fatigue is because the pathways that run up through our leg into our digestive organs support our spleen pancreas, which is a big source of our energy, our liver, which is our detoxification and recycling organ, and if it is struggling, we will have fatigue. So supporting it helps a lot. And our kidneys is the source of our ancestral energy, it's our adrenal health, and it's our fluid metabolism. So when we can get all 3 of those in a really balanced place, then our fatigue should lessen, our energy should increase. So that's where we'll start, and then we'll do some other things as well after that. So for the spleen, we're going to use either Spleen 3 or 4. So Spleen 3 is if we have this bump on our foot just before our toe. It's going to be on the side of the bump closest to us, and we just kind of gently dig in on the edge of that mound right there. Now, you want to be cautious with this point. It can be tender, but it is very effective. It's especially effective for fatigue with a lot of brain fog, memory issues, difficulty focusing, or just if you're studying for a test and you're just kind of studying for anything and you're having trouble retaining the information and starting to feel mentally as well as physically fatigued. This is a great point for that. This is the earth point on the earth channel. the feminine earth channel. So it is especially powerful for grounding us, drawing us into our body, and supporting our fields and flowers, our inner farmer, and our cook, which is our spleen pancreas. So it really is an amazing point for helping to support our entire digestive system, even with just one little spot. And if it's the right point for you, it should feel a little bit tender, but you can press it if it's not. And then just a little bit further down, kind of nestled in the nook of this arch. There's a mosquito flying around in my face. Excuse me if I swat occasionally. So tucked up in the nook of the arch here, I actually have a scar right there. So it's really easy to find on me, but it'll feel like a juicy little nugget in there. So you're just going to press, rub, hold, use a tool, whatever you like. When this is really tight, it's a sign that there is a likely trigger point in the muscle that runs along the arch. So working with this is great, helping to normalize the arch, whether it is too high or flat. If you do have flat feet and there's no trigger point in there, then it would be better to work on toning with pleasure pulsing. So if you haven't had the pleasure pulsing module yet, you can ask me for it, or you can let me know that you need the course on it. So that is the foot spleen. We can also go up the leg. Working any point on the spleen pathway is beneficial for energy and fatigue. So there's spleen 6, which you're just going to take your 4 fingers, put your pinky on the high point of your ankle, and measure that 4-finger distance. There should be a nice little hole on the back side of your bone, not on top of your bone. That's the liver channel. So behind the bone, and not all the way back where your Achilles heel is, Achilles tendon is either. It's kind of right in the middle there. If you have a hole, you'll fall right into it, and that's a good sign that this point needs some attention. So we're just going to do finger or thumb pressure, press, rub, or hold. You can sometimes get a cup on this point too. If you're using cupping, you can definitely use a gua sha tool, a fascia blaster, if you are using those in your routine. Let me just grab one tool I want to show you. Okay, so this is one of my favorite acupressure tools. It has a spring-loaded pointer, and then it has a roller on the end. So we can get this point, any point, most points with the roller, which is great. The roller is also great if you want to work a whole meridian pathway quickly. So we can just roll up that inner leg spleen, or we can use our lovely pointer, find that little point, and just hold it there. It saves thumb and finger power, and it's more sustainable, but it's a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Level kind of pressure. It's easier to maintain, but sometimes giving a little more pressure and releasing repeatedly is great too. So it's all about playing around with your tools, whether they're fingers, toes. If you want to press with your toes, you can, elbows, palms, tools like this, whatever. So that is the lower spleen. We can also do spleen on the thigh, but we tend to do spleen, liver, kidney all together on the thigh. So we'll set that aside for just a minute. The spleen also goes up onto the lower belly and the kind of front side of the ribs. So we can do some pressing, finding the tender points, kind of along the outside of our breast line. And down. If this area is tender, it's also likely that it's tender a little further back and possibly a little further forward too. That's the gallbladder liver. It's kind of straddling the spleen pathway, the spleen pancreas pathway on the ribs. Working anywhere in the ribs is going to support fatigue recovery because it will allow us to expand and contract our lungs that much more effectively, which means we'll be taking in a higher supply of oxygen, as well as releasing more waste gases. So byproducts of our cellular metabolism, or just parts of the gas that we intook with the oxygen that our body doesn't need. So So expelling those is actually really effective for supporting health and energy building. So nice deep breaths while you're doing this. And if you want to go further into breath work, you can let me know if you're in the program, or you can ask about which course would be right for you that contains breath work for energy and fatigue relief practices. So that is the spleen pathway. The liver pathway, which we just connected with in the front of the ribs, starts on the inside of the big toe, so it's very closely connected to the spleen pathway, and it runs up here. And in between our big toe and our second toe, there's a little valley. And tucked deep in that valley in a special little nook is liver 3. And so liver 3 is another earth point on a feminine meridian. So it has very grounding energy, very nourishing and soothing energy. And it also helps to relieve congestion in our actual liver organ, which prevents us from having, prevents us from having hormonal balance. So it helps us shift to hormone balance. And it clears congestion, helps clear congestion through the liver, but gently, in a very nourishing way. If you have a lot of inflammation, red eyes, headaches, very irritable, especially premenstrually, but really anytime, you can press the liver 2 point, which is also in the valley, but just at the beginning, and it's not hidden deep. It's just, you can pinch between the front and back and you'll feel it. This one can take a little more sharpness. So we're not poking in, we're not needling, but we can take our tool and give a bit firmer pressure on this point. And that will help to express some of the inflammatory heat, the physical inflammatory heat, as well as send a signal to the brain to moderate our inflammatory factors, our chemical inflammation in our body. So really powerful points on the liver pathway. We can continue up the liver pathway. It's just the top of the foot here, and it runs on to the bone, right, the side of our tibia here. And so we can just press, we can work the spleen, liver, and kidney pathways with some nice massage. It's really great too. Just softening up the muscles on our inner thighs, or excuse me, inner legs, including the inner thighs. And one reason this is effective is because it helps to release tension. Another way it is effective is that after we release the tension, they can then tone effectively. So when we have sensitive muscles, the muscles kind of in our, in our belly, our inner thighs, they tend to be weak, dysfunctional, which means they are holding a deep tension, but they are not really strong enough to contract and release. So they have two strikes against them. If we can release that deep tension and then train them to be able to contract and release effectively with pleasure pulsing, then we can actually build strength, which helps to support our core energy, which is a source of our deep energy and fatigue relief. So really great to do. You can do tapping, you can use your blaster, you can cup on them, whatever you like. And we can just continue that up the thigh. Pinching, rolling the skin is great. If you find that it's really sticky and hard to get, then that is a sign that you have some fascial adhesions and that you need to break them up. So that's where the pinching and rolling comes in, or using fascia blaster or whatever it is. So if that's the case, let me know and we'll get you set up with something like Cellulator or Liver Lover, or whatever you need for your best physical expression of health. So we have done the 3-leg yin, spleen, and liver. Now we can do the kidney. Kidney, super powerful grounding point, right? This is the bubbling spring point where we literally connect our bioelectric, our bioenergetic field to that of the goddess Earth. So when this point is dysfunctional, when our nervous system isn't functioning well to it in our feet, then we can not be able to draw on the source energy of the Earth. We can have a more difficult time grounding any static electricity that has built up in our body, which can make us feel irritable and can block our energy from flowing, which leads to fatigue. So even just working that point, excuse my dirty feet, can be really powerful. And to do this, you can press it, or let me grab one thing. You can use a magical tool called a high bounce ball. You can use any ball you like, but these are actually great firmness for the feet. And so you'll just set it on the ground. You can do it while you're sitting in a chair, or you can just do it like I'm doing, and you're just pressing and rolling. It's great to have one of these at work. Fidget tools for the feet are an awesome way to ground and to relieve that static charge that builds up when we're just sitting doing repetitive motions, so that we don't internalize that static charge as inflammation. So that's a great way to get it. Otherwise, pressing, rubbing, things like that. So the kidney goes up more towards the back by the Achilles, and any of the points on the Achilles are great for fatigue relief. So I actually just like to give a squeeze all the way at my calf with my thumb focusing on the kidney meridian. So, and then you just find the tender points in your inner calf muscle and work those a little more. So if you have a lot of juicy spots in there, it's great to do. This area is great for supporting fluid metabolism. And the kidney pathway is actually really great to work on while pregnant or trying to conceive, because it supports our Jing, our ancestral energy, our genetics that we're going to pass down to our child. The one thing I do want to mention before I go on is on the spleen channel, there is that point that I talked about, spleen 6, where we're dropping into the hole. If you are pregnant, you don't want to push hard on that. Using just an energetic type of touch is enough. And that's just anecdotally, they found that that's the best option, not to press on that. And also when we're pregnant, we don't want to do a lot of work around our inner outer ankle or the top. So anywhere around our ankle is kind of a light touch only, soothing touch only zone while we're pregnant. And that's just because of in reflexology, the way our nerves connect in this area, there's a strong connection to the womb. And so we don't want to initiate we don't want to initiate any intense activity along that nerve pathway. So just be gentle and you're fine. The funny thing is about fatigue is that there are so many patterns, and we could work the whole body to support our fatigue. But working just with these 3 leg yin meridians is going to make a big difference already. So just sending a sort of deep release energy down through your body, letting tension drain down through those pathways into the earth, and then drawing the energy back up from the earth. Can do it while you're seated, but doing it while you're standing is really important as well. And I go into this in more detail in the posture section in Feminine Functional Fitness. So you can do that as a course by itself, or you can ask for it as part of your program, or it is contained within many of my other courses and programs. So you've got lots of options to learn how to do that. So we went through the 3 leg yin meridians. I'm going to say 3 leg yin meridians a lot because I want you to remember those. They are your friends for fatigue relief. The other things that we can do that are not related to the 3 leg yin meridians, is tapping on the outside of the leg. So these are related meridians to the 3 leg yin. We've got the stomach over the top, which is related to the spleen. We've got the gallbladder on the outside, which is related to the liver. And we've got the urinary bladder on the back, which is related to the kidney. And the urinary bladder, these are our longest meridians. These are our yang leg meridians, our more masculine of the pairs of our leg meridians. So these guys you can just do tapping. You can do cupping on them as well, especially if you have cellulite and fascial adhesions, or a lot of thigh tension, IT band syndrome, tensor fascial latae tension, things like that. Hips as well. So cupping, blasting, ball work is great. Roller if you like it. I don't do well with roller. I'd rather use a ball or my other tools. But just a loose fist is really awesome. Just a nice tapping. For as long as you like. And these, so the stomach meridian, stomach pathway goes up the front of the body to just under the eyes. So if you're having a lot of brain fog that is related to allergies or sinus congestion, great place to focus. That whole pathway just up the front, tapping here as well. And tap down, kind of thinking lymphatically draining. For the urinary bladder pathway, it goes up the back, right? So it can be hard to get, but we can do light tapping over our kidneys. Very light if you're pregnant. We're not doing any hard tapping over the kidneys. Can do kind of, I'm not directly getting the urinary bladder, but releasing and relaxing the muscles that run alongside of it, the pathways that run alongside of it, can allow it to release tension indirectly. And you can lay on a ball. You can put 2 tennis balls in a sock and tie it off so that you can lay on it and roll back and forth. You can put it behind your back and press against a wall or a chair to get the muscles along the spine. And releasing anywhere in those muscles along the spine that is tender or feeling very tight will be helpful for fatigue, because those are the spots where our spinal nerves come out from between our vertebrae. And if there's tension over those spinal nerves, it's going to make it difficult for the corresponding part of our body, whether it's an organ or a muscle, to function well. So for fatigue relief, we need optimal function. So that's how we're getting it with the back. I do go deeper into how to more specifically work on the back in Align the Spine, or if you are in a custom program, you can let me know and I will give you the information. Let's see, so on the belly, we had the spleen, which is kind of in the groin. We had the liver, which is out here a little more. We had the stomach, which is close to the belly button. The kidney is very close to the belly button. So we can tap all of those areas or gently tap with our loose fists. We can go all the way up the chest. So I'm showing you a pretty comprehensive way to work almost your entire body to support fatigue, but with very little energy, very little activity, right? I'm just sitting here in my bed and pressing some points, doing some tapping. You can tap your head. If you tap along the middle, that's the urinary bladder pathway. You tap along the outsides, that's the gallbladder pathway. You tap more on the forehead, that's gallbladder and stomach. Large intestines, so our intestines, if we have any inflammatory heat, that can sap a lot of our energy as well. So there's a lot that we can do, and I haven't even gotten into the arm meridians yet. So if you do have a lot of digestive inflammation that shows up as tongue redness or just difficulty digesting food, then you'll want to work with the large intestine pathway, which is starts at the tip of the pointer finger, runs here and up into this chunky chunk muscle here. So belly of the chunky chunk is a great place to support energy building. Along with, it pairs really well with, it's like fine wine and cheese, with a point on our stomach pathway, on our shin, called stomach 36. Excuse me, mosquito. So we just, we're on the outside of our tibia here, like a finger width, outside of the tibia below the knee, and we just drop down and find a nice little hollow spot. Or we just rub back and forth along the muscle tension there. This was one of my mentors' favorite practices for supporting digestion and clearing digestive inflammation. It is also really helpful, if you can find that specific point. It has been clinically proven to increase white blood cells in cancer patients who are receiving chemotherapy. So it's an amazing immune system building point as well. And to build energy for them as well. So that's that's where I would go with the digestive system and fatigue. But really, you can just kind of play around and see where you find tender spots. Check your fascia. If you haven't been shown how to do a fascial assessment yet, if you haven't watched that video, let me know, because that's a really powerful way to release a lot of potential energy that is being stored by fascial adhesions. And if you have a lot of fat buildup in a specific area, doing fascial work and rolling and pinching around that in a loving way, of course, can help to relieve some of the potential energy stored there as well, because fat is completely potential energy. And oftentimes it will get trapped in fascia so that we can't access it to use when we're ready. So that's why a lot of us, we're so tired and we have so much potential energy in our body. It's a shame not to free it up so we can use it. So if you are very fatigued and having a hard time releasing weight, that is someplace I would go. So then you can do back of the arms, you can work on the thighs and the butt with pinching, pulling, and other fascial work, cupping, blasting, ball work, things like that, to help free that up. So it's a really powerful way. Once your fascial adhesions around the fat are cleared and your liver is supported as optimally as possible, the metabolism will turn back on. And that's why so many of us struggle with fatigue and with difficulty releasing weight, burning fat. So we go into that in Cellulator, we go into that in Unveiling the Goddess, which includes Cellulator, and then in custom programs. So if you are ready to create abundant energy and easily burn through stored fat, so that you can feel strong, healthy, radiant, still enjoy your curves, but not be feeling stuck, then that's a great way to go about it. So that is an introduction to sort of acupressure, massage, and other fascial tools for fatigue, relief and building energy. And if you want to dive deeper into fatigue relief, that course or program is Empress Energized. If you want something specific, or a custom course, can include that anytime. And you can let me know if you have any questions, if you're uncertain about something, or if you want to dive deeper into anything that I've talked to you about today.